Hello, Barbies, Kens, theys, and thems. Welcome to Nicole Reacts, a show in which I, Nicole, react to online marketing gurus that I find, that other people help me find, and occasionally who find me on the internet. My qualifications for marketing snark and commentary are that I've owned a marketing company for 16 years. In that time, I've worked with hundreds of clients on marketing strategy and implementation. So I feel like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to online marketing and related topics. By the way, if this kind of topic slash information interests you, you are on a playlist called Nicole Reacts to Online Marketing Gurus if you're on the YouTube channel. But if you're on the blog, just know that there's a whole topic called Nicole Reacts, and there's literally like over 150 videos. So enjoy. Now, we've covered John Melton on this channel before. So, John and his wife, Nadia Melton, are in a network marketing company, but kind of what they did, which is what most people who are high up in MLMs eventually do, is they looked around and they thought, we've grown to a certain size. Um, it's kind of out of our hands now in term because our downline now is doing all the work. And the other part that's out of our hands, besides our downline and what they're able to do, how many people they're able to recruit, is we have no control over the ownership slash economic direction slash solubility of this company, right? The MLM that they're a part of. So I think when you get to this point and you're making a ton of money and you have a lot of followers that you've gotten on social media, people who are aware of you as a person, you decide, okay, I'm going to monetize myself as a person and I'm going to become a coach or a trainer for other network marketing people. So in doing this, first of all, you are getting out from underneath the company, whatever MLM you're in. If something goes horrible or something like that, you now have this separate income stream that you have some control over. At least you have control over the products and services you're offering, what price you're offering them for, and all of that. The second thing is not only do you have something to sell to people in your downline that directly benefits you, like they're paying you directly, right? Instead of buying something from a company that's going to pay you, you also are not limited to the particular network marketing company you're in anymore. They can expand beyond their known borders, but they're starting with an audience of people who already know them, which is their downline and their social media followers. Usually these people have relatively large audiences. And so even if they can sell to a fraction of them, they're going to be doing okay. And this can either be some kind of ongoing thing where you pay to be in their mastermind, or this could be selling individual programs. So, like for $4,000, I'm going to teach you how I became successful so that you can replicate my success. Now, just because you have someone's formula for success does not mean that you're going to easily be able to replicate it for yourself. Let's say that I was going to sell your program, right, about how to grow an online marketing company. You might look and say, well, wait a minute, Nicole, you were doing a lot of growing in 2008, 2009, 2010. Things are a lot different now online than they were back then. And that is 100% true. I would go about it differently now than I did back then. But even if I had started more recently, you could say, well, Nicole, you already had this many people following you on social media, or you already had these kind of connections to other people who helped grow your business. There could be any number of things, whether it's knowledge, tactics, connections, circumstances that you cannot replicate, even if you had the quote unquote perfect program of somebody else in front of you. Which is why I continuously make these videos. Yes, I'm making, $15 a month in YouTube ads. That's right. I'll try not to spend it all in one place. But I just really like looking at these people as someone who knows about marketing and pointing out when I think they're full of bullshit so that you can look at them and see the same things that I see. So predictably, this is what John and Nadia Melton are doing. And kind of what keeps them out there is them putting out content on a regular basis. So if I am always going on Instagram or YouTube or something, and I'm constantly seeing new videos, new images, new content from these people, I assume that they're still relevant, which is why they do it. Now, this particular video we're going to watch today is called How to Accelerate Your Success by 20X on Social Media with Brian Fryer. So, what I want to do before we watch this, I have no idea who Brian Fryer is, but I want to take a look at his stuff with you. Okay, so this is Brian Fryer's Instagram account, 0.34% engagement on an average of the last 11 posts. Not great, not terrible, but he does have 44,700 followers, so that could be why too. Let's take a look at some of his recent content here. Nothing to post today. Try this. A video of yourself right now, 4 to 6 seconds, add this audio to it, then do what we suggest. So this is what he suggests. So you've done part 1 and 2, now what? The last part is to make a piece of content successful is to now add value. Don't overcomplicate this part. I know from experience, LOL. It used to take me an hour to do just one reel. This past Monday, I created 10 reels in under 15 minutes. I don't know, that seems kind of ridiculous, but okay, now to help you, ask yourself, who is this video for? How can I help them today? Keep it simple. Sound good? Now go recreate this and post it. Was it helpful? Comment heart to do so, then follow me. Here's the thing. So in this thing, he says, okay, take a clip of yourself that's 4 to 6 seconds long and then use the audio. And I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get copyright stricken, but it's like, there's a place I dreamed of. And it's like them playing the guitar, right? So maybe you say, use this sound on the video, right? Where I dreamed of, see caption. And then in the caption, tell people how you have gotten to where you've dreamed of with this network marketing opportunity or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's one thing to say, use this sound and give value. And it's another thing to help people get there with a little bit more direction. I think that would feel more strategic. Now, by not telling people specifically the thing that I just said, right? If someone posts this and it doesn't do well, and someone comments, hey, I did this and it didn't do well, he could say, you were supposed to give them value in the caption and you didn't. And here's the thing, specific advice isn't always going to work, but it is going to help people do the thing that you want them to theoretically do. Let's look at a few more pieces of his content. Okay, the balance of this graphic is a little off. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to take a screenshot of this and pull it into Canva. Okay, so you see how in the bottom left corner, let me grab this blue first, actually. Let me grab this blue to make the background. So what I did here is I just added some space on the bottom right-hand corner where it says new sales, because in the previous graphic, it just looked really crowded. Now, the other thing is that it doesn't seem like these elements are lined up. So one thing that I like to do is overlay a grid and then move elements around accordingly. Okay, so I just overlaid a grid and zoomed in to show you what I mean. So if things were lined up, the arrows and the buttons would kind of be in the same place. So for example, if we look at step 1, the left side of the button kind of touches that vertical line. But in step 3, right below it, it is like about a centimeter to the right of that line. And then for step 5, which is right below that, it's somewhere between those two distances. So there's, I think, some lining up that could happen if they wanted to do this. Also, things don't seem necessarily lined up in the other column either. So if we look at the arrows for step 2 and step 4, it seems like the vertical line crosses them at the same point. But the arrow for step 6, it seems like that is more to the left than it should be compared to the other 2 arrows. I'm not going to belabor this point, but you get what I'm saying, right? It just seems like it's a little sloppy, but let's take a look at the content of what's actually in it now that I've judged the design of it. All right, it's Coach Fryer checklist, how to land your next customer or client in stories. Step 1, open up your stories. Step 2, post an impact picture, preferably of you, great quality, maybe doing something fun. Again, do we know what an impact picture is? No. Step 3, then on next stories post a poll. Choose 2 pains your ideal new customer or client is facing right now. Reach out privately to all who answer the poll and see how you can help them and possibly recommend what to use or recommend to others that can help solve their problem. There's a lot of exclamation marks in this content. Step 5, do this twice per week. Step 6, DM me the word stories if you'd like my complete stories blitz showing exactly how to do this weekly to generate new sales. Okay. Prime opportunity to showcase your business. And I'm seeing some of these hashtags: network marketing success, network marketers, network marketing training. And then he also has some for direct sales success, direct sales help, direct sales training. So about half of these hashtags are related to MLMs. And let's look at this client testimonial. In the last 6 weeks, I went from 500 to over 40,000 followers on Facebook following Coach Pryor's instructions. So far this week, I've already enrolled 7 new customers. Enrolling a customer is specific verbiage that multi-level marketing people use. I love it when people quote themselves on their social media. So Coach Pryor says, just maybe God is testing you with a little so that he may eventually bless you with a lot. Hashtag blessings on blessings. All right, so let's watch this reel. I'm going to see if the audio is. Okay, so the audio is, someone pour me out another shot of whiskey. It's that one. Okay, so the text on the slide says, easy reel alert. Seriously save this and use it several times a week. Try this. Grab this trending audio and use it several times this week under 1K uses. Add B-roll video like this one for background, but be sure it has movement. Then do this. Okay, and it points downward, which means read the caption. So let's read the caption. This is a simple way to create a reel that brings in more of your ideal followers. For example, I'm a social media coach for social sellers who want to grow their businesses online. So naturally adding this type of tip will help social sellers get in front of new people weekly. But how does this work for you? Ideas. Add B-roll of you doing a daily task for your business and share a couple benefits. Add B-roll of you doing something you enjoy that your business allows you to do. Add B-roll of you drinking coffee, sharing story of where you were 1 year ago prior to building your online business. Add B-roll of a great family moment or trip you earned from your online business. Now, FYI, I cut this audio off after 4 seconds because of the language. So if cussing isn't part of your vibe and brand, you can do the same. If it is, you can leave it in. These are simple examples that will take you little to no time to create. So I like that he has a problem with cursing, but not with pour me out another shot of whiskey. I feel like drinking could also be problematic, but anyway. So we know that this guy is a network marketing social media person. So now when we watch his content, we know where he's coming from. So let's watch this interview with John Melton and him talking about how to 20X our social media. You know, Grant Cardone, he says we 10X stuff. These guys, 20X. All right, let's get started. So just in case you need to know, this video is 19 minutes long. So about double that is how long the rest of this video is going to be.
You know, if you really want freedom, financial freedom, time freedom, not just like financial freedom and all that. But
in case you've never watched John Melton's content before, his background looks vaguely like a geodesic dome, and it cracks me up in my own mind every single time.
But like the freedom and flexibility to build your business whenever you want, there's nothing better than building on social media, building from your phone, building online. I know a lot of you already know Brian, but if you don't, just know he's one of the best trainers, coaches, mentors out there in the network marketing space. He's been in the field.
Please appreciate that as John is talking about Brian, he is adjusting his camera. His desk is moving around. I don't know why this couldn't have been done before the recording started, but
building, leading teams, creating success. But then years ago, he decided, you know what? I want to coach. I want to take a step back from network marketing. So he retired from the profession. He's no longer actively building, but he mentors and coaches people in the profession.
It's so funny that he went from being in network marketing to coaching network marketing people. It's almost like this is a predictable path.
To help them build a full-time income, help them smash their goals. And he's a genius when it comes to all things social media.
John and Nadia Melton's brand is My Lifestyle Academy. So just enjoy that.
You're not going to burn yourself out if you can create some automation, some systems for building and acquiring customers and building the team and all the things. So with that being said, Brian, because you do coach and train a lot of people in different companies, what are you seeing today? What are you seeing? Because obviously things have slowed down a little bit with maybe the algorithm and maybe people aren't going viral.
Is it the algorithm? Is the algorithm why things are slowing down with MLMs? Or is it that people are running out of income to spend on those kind of products and that the predatory nature of the MLM business model is getting more and more out there? But yeah, sure, let's blame the algorithm.
As easily as they could maybe just a year ago. So what are you seeing today that's most impactful and most effective when it comes to building with social?
It amazes me, first and foremost, I don't want to say the lack of knowledge, but there's just still so many folks out there who don't truly understand the power of.
So Brian's microphone sucks. I think we can just agree on that. Just in case you're wondering if you're hearing incorrectly, nope, his microphone just sucks.
Of social, right? Again, like you said, I don't ever want to take away from what they've done up to this point, whether it's online or offline, whatever, but just truly understanding how social works, how technology works, how to leverage it. I'm just like you, John. I mean, back when my wife and I were building in the field, there was nothing against Zooms or Google Hangouts back in our day. Zoom necessarily wasn't like
back in our day.
The front runner.
Oh, wow, John Melton's teeth are white. That is impressive.
But even then, John, we were grinding, hustling, sure, doing Google Hangouts. But that wasn't something that I saw myself doing in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I didn't want to do 10, 15, 20 of those a day. Again, back to that word leverage. Again, Zooms are cool. You're just like I am. But I mean, isn't the ultimate goal, you talked about the word freedom, isn't the goal to eventually not have to do 10 Zooms a day, 15 Zooms a day? Let's use the word leverage. Let's talk a little bit about like what's working.
If you were making $25,000 a month or some ridiculous amount of money, would you be willing to be on 10 Zoom calls a day? I'm guessing that a lot of us are on a lot of Zoom or calls or other kinds of calls throughout a day and are not making the kind of income that these guys are making.
Today, I just shared with all these folks at this last event, I talked about these 2 C's, and I'll kick it back to you in a sec. Let's talk about this. The first C that I talked about on social was simply a conscious decision of contribution. John, how many folks do you and I both know out there, leader or not leader, doesn't matter rank, income, but that are not willing to make a decision to contribute? They just show up, they're on social, they're just hanging out, they might comment every once in a while, but you and I both know, right? To build your own personal brand, become not an influencer, because I don't like that word. I'd rather become a person of influence. You have to do what? You have to contribute.
I wish he would be a little bit more specific about what he means by contribute. Does he mean give helpful information to other people for free? Does he mean reach out and build meaningful connections with people one-on-one? I don't know what he means here by contributing.
Those who are choosing not to contribute based on fear, scared of what this person is going to think, family members, versus those who are contributing. What are you seeing across the scale? Those who are contributing, those who are not.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's such a good word, because if you're showing up and you're becoming a content creator, like you said, a contributor, you're building community, right? And you're creating connections on the back end. That's what it's all about.
But he was just saying that some people just show up and post things on social media. Isn't that me contributing? Or does it have to be around like a framework or an intention or a set of actions? That's what I don't quite understand. It seems like showing up isn't enough, according to Brian, but according to John, showing up is contributing.
About. And here's one of the reasons that you and I think both went down this path. And obviously you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you're just like me and like.
Oh, we all know why they went down the path. I explained at the beginning of this video exactly why they went down the path.
Most people, it's like, I don't want to rely on my warm market, especially back then. My warm market sucked. And for me, it was like, man, I want to.
Yeah, now they get to rely on other people's warm markets because they're high up enough in the company, right?
Find better people. I want to attract people to me. I didn't know much about attraction marketing, but I knew one thing. I was exhausted by cold prospecting, intimidated by cold prospecting. I never liked having to rely on me, meeting people within 3 foot of me every time I was out. Like I hated look.
So this is interesting. Now, I'm going to link all the John Melton videos I've done in the show notes. I'm 99% sure at least one of them was a live stream with Heather C. But in at least one of them, he talks about how you should be out meeting people. So he was telling people in this video that, you need to constantly be meeting people, you need to be hitting them up, you need to be building those relationships. And just now he said he doesn't like doing that. So it's really interesting how these people will always give advice for you to follow that they themselves don't follow. Hey guys, editing Nicole. So I found a whole video where John Melton is telling us that we should be up in our warm markets business. So here's a clip from it in case you don't watch it.
It's really hard to enroll customers and recruit a team if you're not talking to people about the products and the opportunity, duh. And I
Did he just say duh? God, gag me with a spoon.
think a lot of us, if we were keeping it real, we haven't talked to the majority of the people we know. I want you to answer this question. How many friends do you have on Facebook or followers? And how many of them have you spoke to about your products and opportunity? Products or opportunity could be and or, right? Products and or opportunity in the last 6 months.
You can see the contrast between what he's saying in the previous video and what he's saying now.
Looking at someone that was sharp dressed or like my waiter, my bartender being like, how can I recruit this person? Like, how can I get, and back then it was like, how can I get their number? Like I hated having to do it that way. So I was always like looking for ways to not have to do that. I would cold call. I would run ads. I would do anything back in the early days before social media just to get people coming to me or to at least not have to recruit people when I was out and about.
Can you imagine viewing everybody that comes into your life as a potential meal ticket? Oh, so gross.
My warm market, the people I was actually friends with, especially in the early years, they were mostly broke. They were mostly like me. They didn't have any influence, any credibility, any experience, and most of them were closed-minded. And I started paying attention to the Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh, that was a hard cut between what he said and about listening to Gary Vaynerchuk. I wonder what he cut.
Tim Ferriss, Chalene Johnson, Ray Higdon. They were all talking about
all of these people he just mentioned. I've done at least one video on, but in some cases, multiple videos on. I will link them all in the show notes if you want to go see what I think of any of these people.
Building a list, building an audience, building a following. And I was like, that just sounds better than what I'm doing.
Up until this point, they've had this mentality of what can I get, right? I joined a company. I represent XYZ.
It sounds like John had the mentality of what can I get too. Like it's not they, it sounds like it's an us thing, okay?
Amazing products. Like, let's go. I got 500 friends. Let's go see what I can get. And I'll tell you what, John, here's what I've seen after all these years, and you would probably agree, is the people with that mentality, they're not winning.
Yeah.
They're not winning. They're I don't know if I like the word losing, but they're definitely not, they're not winning. And I would say we can all think of probably a handful of people right now, people started coming to your mind that are more so like the takers in life. And I want you to think about that concept about building your business on social media. Are you showing up just what can I get? What can I sell? How can I get this person to join my team? Take, get versus, right? What can I give? The people who are saying, what can I give? How can I contribute?
But it's a lot easier if you make your money being a coach to be able to give content than if somebody is only making money when they recruit someone or when they sell a product. Right? It's a lot easier to be in that giving mindset when you giving out your content gets people into your coaching practice. If people just give stuff out as just a regular network marketing person who doesn't have this side coaching business that these guys do, it doesn't quite work the same, does it?
Contribute are winning big. You and Nadia are a true testament to that. People think before I can give or make, value-based posts, videos, reels, TikToks, whatever, that I got to be an expert, right? I got to know everything about a certain thing before I can start sharing. You and I both learned something early on from one of our mentors, our good buddy Ray, right? He talked to ILT, right? People are out there.
They're talking about Ray Higdon, and ILT is invest, learn, teach, in case they don't talk about it. So you invest in coaching or learning for yourself. You learn from that person, and then you teach it to other people. These are both Ray Higdon students, it sounds like.
Consuming personal development content, health and wellness content, makeup, skincare content. But then that's where it stops. They're not willing to turn it back around and share some of the things they learned. And there's one other thing that I want to share, John, and I'd love your thoughts on this. When I talk about contribution, when I talk about posting value and all this stuff, I'm seeing a trend. The days of just creating a post, the days of just doing a reel or a TikTok, in my opinion, are kind of slim to none nowadays. And it's really coming down to authenticity and the connection within the reel you're doing, within the post that you're doing. People are sick and tired of the fluff. They're sick and tired of the same reel that they've seen everybody else do. They want authenticity. They want that opportunity.
And just to remind you, the 2 reels he suggested we post were "This is place I dreamed of," with a 4-second clip of you doing something and providing value in the caption. And the second reel he suggested is using the sound, "Someone pour me out another shot of whiskey," and use a clip of like your family on vacation and write how the business you're in made that vacation possible. Do those feel like authentic and unique content to you? As somebody who might be scrolling on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, does that feel like something you've never seen before? Or does that feel very authentic to the person who's putting it out? I don't think it does personally, but what do I know?
So you know what? I actually really connect with that type of person.
Well, it's funny too, because some of your most viral videos, or let's not even talk about going viral, but just the
Yeah, let's not.
videos or the posts that do the best have nothing to do with your business, because they see you. Like, I had a woman that I recently.
So they're clearly streaming this and they're using StreamYard. And I can tell by the way that the comments look on the bottom. So what you can do if you're the one sort of producing the StreamYard is you can selectively highlight comments and put them on the screen. So they put one on the screen previously and they just put this one on the screen. I don't know how many people are watching this. I feel like if there was more commenters, they'd be putting more of them on the screen. Or if there was more positive comments, I should say, they would be putting them on the screen. I'll see if I can find the original link and I'll see if I can go look back and see if there was more comments going on than this.
Enrolled, and she straight up said, like, "I saw you at your son's baseball games, and because I see you, you're obviously very successful, you're making a lot of money, that's great, but that's not what attracted me to you and what you're doing. It was the fact that you and your wife were at your son's games, and the fact that I saw that, how much parenting and your kids and your family matters to you, like, that's what matters to me also."
When I go back,
It looks like most of these comments are coming from Facebook. So I'll go look and see if I can find the Facebook live stream of this.
to saying, authentic and all that, it's not, we're not talking like the typical jargon, John, we've heard for years. Be authentic, be yourself, be you, be unique. No, to hell with all that. Like, let's actually just stop watering down our message and just be the real version of ourselves, the authentic version of ourselves. And I just think that social media, people are tired of the watered down message. I think over the last 2 years, what everybody's been through has kind of gotten us past that. But I think this is really the key to success. 2022, 2023, 2024, like, people are going to start gravitating those who are authentic in what they're doing.
You know what would be really helpful right now, but they will never do, is for them to share 2 to 3 posts that they think are really authentic. Show them and then talk about why they're authentic. It would take about 5 minutes to do that, and it would be really instructive to the people watching, but they're not going to give very specific advice, are they?
I love that. The bolder you are, the better. And sometimes that's obviously there's some discomfort there, right? Really putting yourself out there and having strong beliefs and opinions. But at the end of the day, those are the people that are going to stand out for sure. And
Do you feel like these guys have said a strong feeling or opinion so far? I don't really get the impression from them that they have very strong convictions, but
here's how you know your post is probably too vanilla. Everybody's agreeing with you. Everybody just loves what you're posting. And look, that's also fine. Not every post is going to be controversial. Listen, let me tell you something else. Funny equals money. So if you're like a funny person, like you have a dry sense of humor, or you're a pretty creative person, like whatever your strong suits are, like, we need to see that. Let me see your personality. Like, when you see my videos, you see Brian's videos, like, who we are. We are very in your face. We say it like it is. And if you were to meet us in person, you'd be like, wow, they're like the same person. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if this guy wants us to see him as kind of an edgelord. I don't know if these guys are as edgy as they think they are. But what I really love about all these, like, kind of male network marketing guys is they're always like, "Yeah, I try to be really funny." And, like, I have never seen one piece of content from any of these type of guys. Ray Higdon thinks he's funny, Matt Morris thinks he's funny, I'm trying to think, Darren Kidd thinks he's funny, John Melton thinks he's funny. I have watched hours of these people's content, and I have not seen one genuinely funny thing from either of them. If you're watching this and you're like, "Oh no, they're hilarious. Here's a link to why." I would love to see it because I have not seen any evidence of any of these guys being funny that say that they're funny to me in these videos.
they're not like a different person in person, right? Like you have to remember when you show up in a certain way, you have a choice of classy or trashy. That just means you have to choose how you want to show up. And remember, you are going to attract what it is you put out there.
It seems like John Melton is being his authentic self here. Can you imagine running into this guy at your kid's sporting event as a fellow parent? Can you imagine running into this guy?
I show up in a professional way that works for us. But hey, if it works for you to do something other than the way we do it, like he said, you figure out your way of showing up, who you want to attract, and stop worrying about. This is the biggest thing I'm trying to get through to you. Stop worrying about the people that don't like you or the people that hate on you. In fact, if nobody's hating on you, you're probably not doing a whole lot. It's like a magnet, right? Attraction.
I don't think people are worried about being disliked. I think people are worried about doing something to actively alienate people in their life and having it not work for them financially. So not only do they not make the money, but they lose their friendships and other connections that are important to them. I think that's what they're actually worried about.
Attraction marketing is like a magnet. You will attract while you simultaneously repel. So if you say, hey, but I do get more views when I'm half naked in my videos, but what are you attracting is the question, right?
Slut shaming here. Chef's kiss. But I think if these guys were a hot woman, they would be half naked in all their stuff.
You have to
They're
think
just
about that.
they're just jealous that they're not.
The kind of people you would want to attract, the kind of people that you would want to work with, who are they? What do they do? What kind of content do they consume? What kind of beliefs do they have?
I just see, and I think, in my opinion, this started like maybe 6-9 months ago. Like I started noticing this is the people who are, contributing online and just trying to appease the masses. They're literally getting like segmented in this big pool of minutia that really isn't making as big of an impact as they probably think they could be, right? Okay. But it is those who are continuing, again, like you said, I agree 100% what you said, but finding that right, their own authentic way to do so, right? I think are the people who are starting to separate themselves from the pack. Again, they're just sick and tired of living this.
I love that we are like 10 minutes in and I've learned nothing except I'm supposed to be authentic, but with no actual idea of what that is, except that I might have haters, that I shouldn't be trying to sell all the time, and that I should be specific with my intention and content without any kind of information about how to do any of that.
Watered down version of like just posting inspiring quotes all the time. Like, listen, that's cool. You've inspired us for for 15 years now. That's cool. Like, we want to learn something more about you. We want to know, you and Nadi do a great job of this and teaching your folks is vulnerable, like your vulnerabilities, like not airing dirty laundry. But, I think there's times and places to where someone like me, John, someone like you, who can continue now to share even more of the stories. Yeah. Right.
All right. So what I want is I want an example of here is something that would feel like airing the dirty laundry versus here is something that would feel authentic. I think the fact that the line is hard to draw is important to say, but I think illustrating how those things would feel differently would allow people to tell if they were kind of venturing into some TMI category. But again, we're not gonna see a specific example, are we?
Of life, of business, because I think that's going to create an incredible just connection with the folks who have yet to know who you and I are.
You know, it's a really good point too, because the quotes and the inspiration is great, but man, if you can tie that to a story, tie it to an example, like, and we've all heard the cliche, facts tell, stories sell. So if you have
It's funny how they're like, oh, you should give examples. You could give examples in these videos, guys, about social media, right?
personal experiences, or you know, you can tell your customer stories, your friends, your coworkers, your business partners, your mentor stories. You know, some of the best speakers in the world, they're great storytellers of
Mhm.
other people's stories. And obviously that takes time like anything else. But I tell you what, you want to start getting attention, you connect, you know, look at the best shows, look at the most popular movies. They tie inspiration, they tie excitement, they tie drama to an actual story, an example, etc. I think that's really important. And you know, the best people speak from a scar. As Chalene Johnson says, you speak from a scar, not an open wound. So like if you're in the middle of going through some horrific things, maybe that
I don't know if I want to take content advice about authenticity from Chalene Johnson. Here's the thing, though, about this talking when you have a scar versus a wound is that these self help people, they're always like, 3 years ago, I was in the deepest depression of my life. And then they go into this whole thing, and you're like, wait a minute. I was following you 3 years ago, and you said how successful you were. So I think that if you're going to be going through something or speak from your scar, I think you need to make sure that the timeline you're talking about matches up, because otherwise, those of us who've been following you and have heard for 20 years how successful and amazing and how you're constantly learning and how you're constantly doing better, if every like year or two you're like, oh my God, I was in the deepest despair of my life. And then I found this thing, I found this product or this service or whatever. The third or fourth time you do it, we're just not going to believe you anymore. Do you know what I mean? We're not going to believe you're in a good place because you're like, wait a minute, you were talking like this last time. You were talking like you were successful before. So, yeah, I would say if you're going to talk about your trauma or your past trauma, I should say, tread carefully.
that's, you know, like you're in the middle of like I have been sober. I haven't had a sip of alcohol in 14 years. So it's easier for me to talk about sobriety. But if I was like just 30 days in and I was really like struggling, and you know, I was having like withdrawal from whatever, right? It's a little harder because it's still like a very like an open wound. Same thing if you're battling with depression or divorce or some of the things that are like very fresh and you're kind of going through it. Maybe it's not time to tell that story. That one you can put on the back burner. But I love the vulnerability piece. I love the
But while you're going through it, it means that you're pretending everything is fine, which is why when you bring it up later, your people are going to be kind of confused. So if you say, "Hey, listen, I'm going to be quiet on social media for a while. I'm going through a divorce or something." At least when you talk about it 2 or 3 years from now about how much better you're feeling, at least people will be like, "Oh yeah, like I remember when you were going through that. Yeah, you were quiet for a while. You were, reflective. And now it does seem like you're doing better." It makes sense then.
of the just being upfront with, again, other people's stories, but also your own personal experiences and stories. And I'm not afraid to talk about, you know, some of the things that happened to me in the past. I was in the beginning, so that's common, especially because you have certain friends and family, you're worried about them seeing your stuff. Let me tell you something. If you have people in your life, the brother-in-law, the father-in-law, the cousin, the best friend, the spouse, that are like super negative about you putting yourself out there, your mom's really hard on you, I'm sorry, but you might have to block them. You might have to invite them to your VIP block party, because if they are affecting you that much,
That's right. Block your spouse. Block your mother when they're concerned that you joined a multi-level marketing company. By the way, I love how this is an interview with a social media expert, and Brian has not talked a majority of the time here.
where like you're literally afraid to talk about certain things or put yourself out there, because there's like probably, you know, it's only a handful, right, Brian? It's like two or
Yep.
three people that you're like, those 2 or 3 people, they're going to make fun of me. Or if I post this, they're going to be upset with me. Unfriend them, delete them, because you need to be able to show up. And if just a couple people are holding you back from greatness, just remove them from seeing your stuff, period, end of story. And look, if they're not going to encourage you and support you, they don't need to be on your friend list. You can still be friends in real life. You can still love them in real life. But on social media, you're here to build a business and build a community.
Going to preach to about 80% of you. When John and I said that, telling stories and stuff, the immediate thought you had was, well, I'm not good at writing, or I'm not good at telling stories.
Okay, I feel like this video is really chopped up because I feel like I'm missing some context here to understand what they're talking about.
And guess what? John and I can sit here and raise our hands saying, when we first thought of this concept, right? Okay, we're freaking terrible too. We're still terrible, but we're work in progress. I honestly feel that, telling stories, whether they're writing them on social media or speaking, telling them in person, that's just a skill.
Yeah.
That's just a skill that no matter your rank, your level of income, your title, doesn't.
Yeah, like human beings shared information by telling stories. Like we all have the ability and interest of telling and hearing other people's stories. Like that's just a fundamental human
matter
thing.
your experience. Each and every one of you listening can get better at telling stories.
I
And how
agree.
you do that, right, is by simply screwing it up several dozen or even 100 times, like myself, to where now I feel a little bit more confident. I still feel like a beginner, but I just wanted to address those of you who are like, well, I want to be vulnerable. I want to, tell more stories, because I feel people are connecting to those more on social now. Just think of some of the folks you guys follow now. You're probably most attracted to the people who are telling stories through their content, through their live videos, through their posts. You just start taking some notes, right? If you listen to something today about something John and I shared, just jot that quick note down.
I mean, the other thing you can do to get better at telling stories is you can put yourself in situations where you tell stories. Like, I know my local library has a sort of quarterly-ish storytelling hour. It's kind of like the moth where like you tell a story about a theme. And so you can practice, getting up on stage and telling your story. You can join a local writing group where like you would write stories and read them and have them read by other people and get their feedback on them. You could learn about different storytelling frameworks and practice writing stories in them. I mean, there's ways that you can get better besides messing up over 100 times, right? You can be actively learning about how to tell a good story and then practicing those skills with other people.
But continue to work on this skill. I'll tell you, you want to talk about freedom, John, in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, those who start mastering the skill of telling stories online, offline, whatever, I'm telling you, things will just come a lot simpler.
You can be a person of influence. You can start to show up and say, you know what, I'm just going to help that person that I used to be. I'm going to help the person that is where I was a week ago or a month ago or a year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And I'm going to start communicating to that person. And that's actually how I started creating content. I started thinking about that person, or I'd either be talking to myself in the past or I'd be talking to one person in particular. I would think of this one person in my mind, and I'd record that video as if I was talking to them, but it was a video that everybody could watch, because I knew that even if that one person didn't watch it, there were other people in that same person's exact situation.
From the social side, what I've seen is a mass adoption of something like TikTok or Reels. Reels still are the number one growth metric on social, hands down. In my opinion, every single one of you should freaking be doing them to some extent or another. But now it's not about like, oh, I saw John and Nadia do one on this and they talked about this, I'll just recreate theirs. No. It's about finding your own lane, your own voice. And then I feel like doing your own variations of 2, 3, 4, 5 different variations of your own style of reel. Those, moving towards that authentic conversation and non-watered down. I think.
So when he says multiple versions of the same reel, so that little clip, the pour me out another shot of whiskey. So he's saying use that same sound and use a clip, but have it say different things and then post them throughout the month. I'm trying to understand what he means by variation, because obviously if you take an idea and you vary it, you're keeping part of the idea as the main element. So for example, maybe I want to keep the same caption, but I want to try posting it with different pictures and see which one resonates more. Or maybe I want to keep the same sound, pour me out another shot of whiskey, and I want to use different video clips with it with a different caption and see which one my audience likes better, right? I wish they would give us examples, but I'm still trying to understand how I'm going to 20x my social media, except post different versions of the same reel, be authentic, and be vulnerable in my content and get good at telling stories. I don't know, those are the only things I've learned so far. If I'm missing anything, let me
I
know.
think is what we're seeing a lot more of. And those who are adopting that right now are still seeing their reels and TikToks do fairly well.
We all have our own unique way of showing up and putting our personality and our beliefs out there. So don't get too caught up in, what everybody else. There's already tons of people teaching on this thing. I mean, think about all the good God, think about all the books that are out there on all the different types of categories. You go to the library and there's just like entire sections on all these different, like, fantasy novels and fiction and biographies, and right. But
I don't know how much this guy goes to the library. I'm just gonna say it.
why do some of them not sell at all and some of them sell really, really well? Because that small percentage of authors that do really well, they show up, they put themselves out there, they are authentic, like all the things we're talking about. And if you really want to stand out on social media these days, you have to take what we're teaching you right now and just start implementing, start putting yourself out there, and don't get addicted to the results. Marry the process, divorce the results, meaning don't worry if it's not working all that well, if you're not generating leads or people aren't reaching out
You know this thing we're telling you to do? If it's not working, don't worry about it.
to you yet. You're not signing people up from your videos yet, is the
Yet.
key. It's just figuring out your messaging. In the early days, and Brian, I don't know about you, but in the early days, like when we first started doing videos and putting ourselves out there, like they were terrible. We didn't know what we were talking about. We didn't know what our brand was. We didn't know our niche, any of that stuff. But we just knew what we were doing was exhausting, and we wanted to figure out a better way. And quite honestly, thank God, a lot of you didn't see those videos in the early days because you probably wouldn't have followed us. You probably would have unfollowed
Oh my god.
us if you would have seen those videos in the early days. I know that's at least true for me. I was literally driving. I was literally recording videos while I was driving.
Don't record videos while you're driving. Oh my god, these people. Also, the only way you're gonna get better at video is to do them. So, you making fun of your past self making videos is not necessarily really helpful. You should see growth, like, I think that's pretty normal. Okay, so this is interesting. I found this same video on Facebook. So, this is probably from when it was originally live streamed. And I see that it was recorded on September 12th of 2022, but I see the length of this video is 50 minutes, but the one we just watched was 18. So I'm guessing it's more of the same, but if there was some hard cuts there, which I felt there was, it's probably because there was some content there from the 50 minutes that didn't make it over to YouTube for whatever reason. So I think this is one of those things where like they just kind of cut too much because I don't see any place where we're going to get 20 times the success on social media. And by success, I don't know if they mean getting 20 times the followers, 20 times the reach, which is like how many people see your content, 20 times the engagement, or 20 times the amount of money that you make through selling things on social media. I'm still not sure what the 20x even means. If you want to learn from these people, feel free to follow them for free on their social media channels. Just please, for the love of God, don't give them any money. They have enough already. And that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, I hope you consider subscribing. As I mentioned at the beginning, there is a whole playlist called Nicole Reacts to Online Marketing Gurus on the YouTube channel, as well as a Nicole Reacts category on our blog, breakingeveninc.com/blog. If you want to see more videos like this, if you have a guru you want me to react to, a topic, anything like that, you can leave it as a comment on this video. Or if you're more shy, you can use the contact form of our website, breakingeveninc.com/contact. That goes right to me. If you want to lightly keep in touch, our email newsletter is a great way to do that, breakingeveninc.com/newsletter. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. And remember, these marketing gurus are just going to keep producing more content. But the good news is you've got a friend that's me in the marketing business who's not afraid to call them on all their bullshit. Take care and see you in the next video.